Okay. Well, hello everyone. And my name is Susan Mitchell. And in case you guys don't know me, tonight we're going to be just working together as a community, and I'm going to share some tips on physical therapy and the coronavirus, and also some tips on how to boost your immune system and some tips on prevention. So my prayer is that this will be a blessing to you or to someone that you know. And because the coronavirus is new, of course, there is no physical therapy research on how to treat this, but we are definitely relying on our experience with working with people that are critically ill and also people that have pneumonia. But I've been very carefully listening to any research that's come out from all over the world. And because some countries are farther ahead than us in their handling of this crisis, there is some research out and some anecdotal data. And so I'm really trying hard to pull together things that are reliable sources that can give us some information. And I just actually this morning got a really good article from a emergency room doctor um, that has 30 years of experience, and he's been working in the New York City hospitals. And so I'm very excited that we are getting new information on a regular basis. So I'll give any updates as we need to. But what I want to start with first is some good news. A lot of us are feeling a lot of stress with this virus, and um, the news is so depressing, and it makes us kind of feel like the world is ending. And so the good news in this, and we have to try to keep our stress levels down, focus on what's positive, is that most people who get the coronavirus will only experience mild symptoms. And instead of focusing on the mortality rate, we need to try to focus on the survival rate. So right now in the United States, it's 95%. And so that's really high. So if you're feeling really stressed out, focus on the survival rate instead of the mortality rate. And there are people that have some risk factors that are surviving this. There are people who are very old that are surviving this. So let's focus on hope. And Jeff posted on Band um, to set our minds on things that are above and to set our hearts on things that are above. And definitely to pray that we'll get through this, that you and your loved ones will get through this with health and safety, and to spread as much good, clear medical knowledge as possible, because there's a lot of confusion out there with some people saying we should open up the country, some people saying we shouldn't. And I think the best thing we can do is listen to medical advice and have peace and take our time with this and be cautious. What I'd like to do first is talk a little bit about prevention, and that is certainly our first priority. And what this will do is help reduce cases and slow the curve so that our healthcare system can handle those that are infected. The first measure that came into place here in the United States was social distancing, and it really should be called physical distancing. And right now they're saying that we should be 6 feet apart from people. But there actually is some research showing that if someone were to cough or sneeze, 14 feet is actually better. So I see a lot of people in my neighborhood walking and like barely 6 feet apart, like they're kind of really pushing it, or standing face to face, barely 6 feet apart. And really, as much social or physical distance as we can get will keep us safer. So it's just super important to, as this time goes on, we're all getting restless and people are getting lonely and we're getting cabin fever. But sticking to these rules as much as possible will help our healthcare system, will reduce our risk of getting it, and will help our healthcare system. And I tell you what, it feels so much better at grocery stores now that everybody has masks on. It's so much better now. I'm really happy that that has been implemented. The next thing, of course, is now they've required wearing face coverings. And that's actually not a term. That's not really a medical term. Face coverings are like, well, what's that? So what most people are doing is everyone is getting these nice, beautiful, one of my clients gave this to me, a really nice, she's a seamstress, hand sewn mask. She even has this little metal bar here so I could put it on and fold it over my nose. And it's nice, but what I'd like to do is ask you, what is the purpose of a face covering? So is it protecting you from getting the virus, or is it protecting the people around you? Anybody know?
Protecting the people around you.
Exactly. So this mask, actually the virus can pass right through it so easily. So if people are putting on these nice cloth masks, especially those without any kind of filter, when you breathe, you are absolutely able to breathe in that virus. So my fear is, as people put masks on, they're starting to break the social distancing rules. So we have to keep our space from people and wear these to protect people. For example, if I have this on and I cough or sneeze, there's less coming out, but it's still coming out. Ew, sorry, we got to get into this. But
Sure.
the next type of mask is the surgical mask. These are available online. So you can still get these. So these protect you a lot better than the cloth ones.
The percentages.
So these cloth masks, depending, like if this doesn't have a filter in it, they're only 3% effective for protecting you. This mask is about 56% effective, but you still need distance from people. Okay, so these surgical masks, the big trick with these is that there's a little metal bar here. Make sure you have it on your nose and you really form it along your nose so that there's less gaps. If you see people in the grocery store with a handkerchief, like they're Lone Rangers, Desperados, and they're like hanging off their nose and there's these big gaps. I mean, we're all trying our best, but that's not really doing a whole lot. So if you need masks, there's a lady, one of my clients is sewing up a million of them. So let me know and I'll get you some masks. We do have some surgical masks here. They are available on Amazon, so you can get them. And the third type of mask is the N95s. And that's really for healthcare workers so that if we're working with frail people, we don't give it to them if we don't know we have them, and also that we can't get it when we're working with clients. So those are really the only ones that protect you from getting it. They're 98% effective, so they're still not even 100%. So that's just the big thing about masks, that we still have to be very careful about staying at home, only going out for very essential trips, and then keeping our distance from people. And walking outside is wonderful because the coronavirus loves enclosed spaces. He has to help me when I can't find words.
I've heard this before.
So enclosed spaces, when there's not good airflow. I think Pat Mason put up something about the air conditioning duct spread that they found in China. It's scary. So enclosed spaces are scary. So going outside with your family, just cross the street when a big gaggle of people are coming by. But we need to get exercise and get out. So there's nothing wrong with being outside, just not being close to people. So when you're out and about and your hands aren't necessarily clean, you have to be very careful about touching your face. This is hard, and I can't remember how many times they videotape people and people touch their face like 20 times a minute or an hour or something crazy. So especially during allergy season, our eyes are itchy, our noses are running, all of these. So, and the tree pollen is so bad this year. So this is tough. But when you're out and about, I literally will like bunch up my hands. If my hands are no longer clean, I'll sit with them, not tight-fisted like I'm nervous, but I'll sit with them so that I don't accidentally touch my face or my mouth or nose. And before you eat, by all means, you have to wash your hands. And if you can't wash your hands well, just don't touch your food. Like if it's a sandwich, eat it, like push it up out of the bag and hold the bag. If you don't feel like you've washed well enough, just be super careful. This virus is very resilient. And so also when you've washed your hands at home, then anything you've touched, of course, this is Olivia's research. Anything you've touched, doorknobs, water, your faucets. I try to do clean hand, dirty hand. So if I think this hand is dirty, I'll turn on the faucet with this hand or my forearm, or light switches, use your forearm. Try not to spread that germ all over your house because wipes are limited. Like wipes are all sold out. So we're limited with that. But any disinfectant spray can be good for all of that. So just be careful when you wash your hands, turn it off with the paper towel or the towel with your forearm so you're not retouching the dirty faucet. And so how many seconds are we supposed to wash our hands, everybody? 20? 20, exactly. And you really are supposed to use warm to hot water. So this virus, the protein on the virus will be killed with hot, warm to hot water, as hot as you can stand it. My hands are like boiled off by the end of the day. So I have to regenerate my skin every day. All right. So the next thing is to really try hard to have a strong immune system. So the reason why many of the cases here are mild is because a lot of people have a good immune system. So what you want to do is just do an assessment on how you're doing with things that kind of affect your immune system, and share this with your loved ones if you know someone that's struggling with this. So how are you doing with stress? So, prayer, of course, is the best answer for stress. Any type of, calming music you like, exercise, yoga, getting out in the sunshine. Big one for us is to stop watching any or listening or reading any of the news. We just need to take a break sometimes because it's very sad, and we're in this for the long run. Now that we're hearing about second waves and all of this, we've got to just take it one day at a time and be grateful as much as we can. Good sleep is also very important, and 7.5 to 9.5 hours are what we need to help our immune system. So if you're staying up late and binge watching on Netflix or studying too hard, this is not a time to be messing around with how much sleep you get. If you're having trouble sleeping, Google sleep hygiene. And there's a lot of good methods that you can take to improve your sleep patterns. And if you have questions, just reach out to me, because this is something, insomnia is something that we've tried to work through for Jeff. And there's a lot of good steps that can help. Of course, a healthy diet helps your immune system. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Exercise, and don't over-exercise. That can be hard on the body, but we're all kind of stuck at home more and feeling more sedentary and eating more. So it's important to make sure you're getting good daily exercise that helps you expand your lungs. And I know there's some folks in our church who don't eat meat, including us. So if you're vegan or vegetarian, it's very important that you supplement zinc. So I know James and his family, they're vegan. Kelly is. So it's very important that if you're not eating meat, you need to supplement zinc. The coronavirus is an RNA virus. And what that means is that the virus is pretty much inactive when it's just floating around waiting for the new host body. When it gets into your body, it actually connects with your genetics in order to replicate itself. It's crazy. And so if you have enough zinc in your body, it reduces how much the virus can replicate. So it's kind of a good thing, even if you do eat meat, just make sure you're getting enough zinc. Google how much zinc do I need a day, and look at the things that you regularly eat and make sure you have enough zinc, because that's like of course, there's all the regular vitamins that are important, like vitamin C, vitamin D, all of those, but I've never really heard much about zinc until the coronavirus. So
Is there an issue where you could end up getting too much zinc?
I don't know.
So is it like if you take zinc tablets or multivitamins that have zinc, you'd have to be careful to not take too much?
I don't think so. I mean, if you talk to your doctor, if you have questions, there are some multivitamins that have zinc in it. We weren't really taking a multivitamin before, but now we're taking one because we don't eat meat. So it's just important. Check to see how you're eating and make sure you're getting enough zinc. And certainly if you have questions, ask your doctor. So I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. So on Zoom, I play one on Zoom. So there are some other natural things that can help boost the immune system. And really, when it comes to supplements, be very careful. There has been some scams. I think people are being very careful about listening to, ooh, this cures or prevents. There's really nothing that cures or prevents the coronavirus, but boosting your immune system, there's a lot of age-old botanicals that have been known to help. So if you're into that, great. If you're not, research it, see what's right for you. We are into all the natural stuff, so I'll tell you what's out there. I've heard about these through, there was a naturopath who mentioned these, and also a PhD nutritionist. So I'm not just pulling them out of the old wives' books. So one that I think has been used a lot is Echinacea. And again, research to see what if it would work for you and your family. We got this one on Amazon. It's a Echinacea and Lemon Tea, and it tastes pretty good. And we've never used it before, but we're like, okay, let's have some Echinacea. There's also tablets, and one of the doctors that I heard speak said, just get some Echinacea tablets and some elderberry syrup. And if you get the virus, then start taking it. So instead of, because we're going to be in this for a long time. So what those two will do is to really help support your immune system if you get the virus. So that's what this one doctor recommended. Also, some people use oregano oil. I know some folks in our church are into essential oils. So we had some at home. I had no idea what to ever do with it, but I was like, oh, and it smells really yummy. So oregano.
It smells like Italian food.
It smells like
Makes me
Italian
hungry.
food. So you just put it in one of those little roller bottles and you put it on your wrist, and it smells like Italian food, and we chase after each other.
Where's the bread?
So that's supposed to be good for respiratory support. And, I don't really know, we kind of have fun with this. It's not going to prevent anything. So if you're into it, great. If you happen to have one of these around, but don't go and spend a ton of money on it. Some people have even talked about salt water gargles, like just putting some salt in water and doing it at bedtime and morning. That's been used for years around flu season. Some people do that. So if you're into that, it's not going to hurt anything. It's not costly. So those are kind of the things that have been tossed around to help with your immune system. The next thing, of course, is to try to manage your risk factors. Now, this one gets a little more complicated. So the people who are at highest risk for having issues with coronavirus, there's two categories. One is if they have any respiratory issues. So lung health is very important. We do live in the mid-Atlantic area where the air quality is poor. So all of us have a little bit of a challenge on our system because of the pollution in this area. So actually the pollution is getting better right now because people aren't driving. So that's kind of a silver lining with this. To help support our lung health during this time, there's no more procrastinating allowed. So I'm not allowing it anymore. So if you smoke at all, smoke anything of any kind, vaping, whatever, you need to stop. So that's it. And so if you, that's it. Sorry, Jorge. So, but a lot of people, that's not as easily said than done. But if people have been waiting for the right time and the right excuse, the right motivation, this is it. So, another thing too is to reduce your exposure to chemical fragrances and also harsh cleaning chemicals. Now, how do we do that while we're trying to clean everything? I try to find, as far as fragrances, everything is fragrance free, like my laundry, this and that, because the fragrances, although they're nice, they do make our lungs work harder because they're chemical fragrance instead of natural fragrance. Also, any of your cleansers, you can try to get the ones with more natural. As long as they are labeled by the FDA that they are disinfecting, then they don't have to necessarily have bleach. Now, that's just my personal opinion because I can't handle bleach, but do what you need to do as far as cleaning your home. But if you are using cleansers that make you feel like, oh, I can hardly breathe when I'm using that, it might be too strong for your system. Or open up all the windows when you're cleaning and ventilate so that you're not damaging or challenging your lungs during this time. Now, a harder one to talk about is if you or someone because I'm not going to stare at anybody here, is either overweight or obese. There's no better time to really take steps toward becoming healthier. This is one of the biggest comorbidities with all the risk factors that are mentioned with the
What's a
coronavirus.
comorbidity?
Comorbidity is highly correlated risk factors that increase your risk of dying. So the risk factors include high blood pressure, heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes. All of those are typically from poor lifestyle, poor diet, being overweight or obese. So I think this is going to be a really big wake-up call for the United States. We are from the research that I was looking at, and forgive me if I'm wrong, we are one of the only developed countries with the obesity rate as high as we have. Does anybody know what our obesity rate is? 37%. That's horrible. And there's just, and I'm not looking at anybody in particular. Jorge's feeling paranoid. You're fine. Well, so here's my recommendation. The way, because this is something that all of us are like, wow, am I okay? So you can check your body mass index using there's a body mass index calculator on the NIH website. So if you just Google body mass index calculator, NIH, that's the National Institute of Health, you can use that little calculator. It's your weight and your height, and that gives you what range you're in. And so it's just good to know where you're at. And if you need to take steps, for example, if you were in the overweight range, now is the time to reduce that. And the beauty of that is there's a silver lining with this. A lot of us have a little more time, so we can cook more. And a lot of us have more time for exercise. So there can be a silver lining with this. And really, but another problem with that is so many of us are stress eating. So we've got to stress eat with healthy food instead of with food that doesn't serve our bodies. So I definitely recommend that, because of how long it seems that the coronavirus is going to be going around. I mean, we're hearing talks about November, going into the new year. There is time to get healthier. It's not too late. So this is just a really good time for us all to check into how are we doing. Check your body mass index. And also, if you're too low, if your BMI is too low, then that puts you, I haven't seen any research with that, but it makes your system a little more frail. So if you're too low on that, try to get up to the healthier range. Hi, James.
Oh, the Bruce is actually 5 times bigger.
Is it muted? Hi.
What you want to do is once you know what your body mass index is, hopefully you're just in the right range. But then if you feel like you need to make changes, there's kind of 2 steps to do. One is to reduce or eliminate all of the junk food in your life. And how we describe that is acidic, addictive, or allergenic foods. So, and all of us know what bad food we're eating, but there's some foods that we don't realize that when they're all combined together are putting our bodies in a state of poor health. So acidic things would be, of course, any processed or junk food, foods with high sugar. Coffee is acidic. Soda, absolutely no more sodas, anybody, put them away. Let's see, I have my list here. Gluten is actually acidic. Dairy is acidic. Gluten, dairy, soy. Alcohol is acidic. I'm taking away all the fun. And gluten, dairy, soy, especially processed soy, and then a lot of sugars. So if you're feeling like you just need to get a little healthier, just try to reduce some of those. And so gluten, dairy, soy, alcohol, coffee, instead of having some of those things every day, just have them as treats. So they often talk about the 80-20, where 80% of the time you eat healthy and 20% of the time you have your treats. So instead of having your coffee every single day, have herbal or green tea some days and have coffee some days. Lisa has a question, what is processed soy? That is, if you read labels, processed soy is in a lot of the meat alternatives, and texturized soy is sometimes what it's called. So I think the only good soy to eat is the organic non-GMO tofu, or the edamame, or the there was one other form. I'll have to ask my vegan daughter, but a lot of soy is processed and not healthy for us, and it's genetically modified. So reducing how much acidic foods will help to boost your immune system and help, if you need to, help you to achieve a healthier weight. And if you have questions about this, just reach out to me in email, and I have more information I can send you. So once you reduce the foods that are not serving your health, you want to replace them with healthier things. For example, if you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm having way too much gluten and cheese and dairy, and you're going to switch it out, well, there's plenty of gluten-free or whole grain alternatives. And if you need recipes, there's a lot of us at Access who are into healthy cooking. So just email me and we'll get you some good recipes. For example, if you have a favorite meal and you're going to die without it, then we'll get you a good alternative. So it's just a lot of fun to take steps toward good health. And when we can do our potlucks, we were sharing lots of recipes, but now we're on the Zoom, so it's hard to us to share our foods. So definitely, if you have questions about how to get healthier, or you want help with this, just email me, and I can help you with that. So what I'd like to do now is change gears and talk a little bit more about some physical therapy, actual interventions. Now, my prayer is that none of us on this Zoom, or who are listening, will get this virus. So my hope is this is information you can share with loved ones, but it's just good to have some information. So for physical therapy, one of the tools that most of us have in our bags is a pulse oximeter. And that's one of these little gadgets. And if you have one of these at home, this is great. Or if one of your family members has it. So what it is this little gadget. Most of us have it when we go to the doctor. They put it on our finger and check here's Jeff's going to model. Smile. So the pulse oximeter.
Is it on?
No, it's not on.
Oh, okay.
The pulse oximeter checks your oxygen saturation, okay? And he's hoping he's okay today. So there was a really good article today written by a physician who, good job, Jeff.
I'm alive.
98%. So written by a physician with 30 years of emergency room experience. And he's the one that went to New York City to help and train doctors how to intubate people. What he was finding with the coronavirus is that the type of pneumonia that people are getting with this, we've never seen. And it's what people were having was called silent pneumonia at home. So most of the time when people have pneumonia here, there's definite difficulty breathing, definite coughing, and pain. People have a lot of pain in their chest areas with pneumonia. Now, typical pneumonia here, you go get antibiotics and you're fine. But this is a viral pneumonia, and there are no antibiotics for it. So basically, physical therapy interventions like breathing exercises, postural drainage, I'm going to go over all these, can help. And also knowing what your oxygen level is as early as possible, if it's going down, can help you to get treatment early enough. What this physician was saying, and I can email this article to you, Jorge, and if you feel like you can send it out, you can screen it. It's 6 pages, but it's good. Basically, what the doctor was finding is that people were coming to the emergency room too late. So they were people that had mild symptoms at home. They knew they had the virus. They had mild to moderate symptoms at home, but their oxygen levels were slowly dropping, and they weren't having a lot of symptoms of it until they got to the ER and they had to be intubated right away and going onto a ventilator. Typically, people have a much better chance of survival as soon as their oxygen levels start going down, they start breathing exercises, they start positional, called postural drainage, they start chest PT, and then they also get put on oxygen, and that helps your body to handle this better. So he even had some people come to the ER with their oxygen at 50%, and that's not really compatible with life. He doesn't even know how this is possible. So these are things that we've just never seen before. So your oxygen level, your percentage should be at least, if you're healthy, like around 97, 98%. I grew up around a smoker, so mine's usually 97. I don't really get a high A, but if you can get one of these, they're starting to sell out. But if you can get one of these, it's a great measure for prevention to just know what your baseline oxygen levels are. And if you feel even a little bit sick, this doctor recommended that you should check your oxygen saturation every day. So that's important. And how can you do that if you don't have one of these?
How much are these?
These online on Amazon today, they were $35 to $60 for these. They have them at CVS if you happen to be out, but none of us want to go anywhere near a pharmacy right now. What is it? Yeah, that's the right thing. And so they are still available on Amazon. I think I looked around, I was getting one for my mom, and like Target is sold out. Some other places have sold out. So these are just a good home tool to have to monitor your oxygen levels, because there's really no way to know. Of course, if your lips turn blue or your fingernail beds turn blue, that's not good. That's a bad sign. And any doubt you have, call your doctor. Because doctors are doing all telehealth, normally you would go to the office and they would check you out. But you kind of have to have your own doctoring tools at home now. Of course, checking your temperature every day will help you know. But the pulse oximetry and just monitoring that can really help you to get help before you're in the dire straits if you get this virus or someone you know. Now, breathing exercises, typically, and these are things that I do with clients that have COPD, and after doing these exercises, their oxygen levels come up. So it's a really good method, and they're super easy. So taking in a slow, deep breath in through your nose, breathing out through pursed lips, breathing out as far and deep as you can. So breathing in really deep, we all know about that one, but usually when we breathe out, we just go, but when you breathe out with pursed lip breathing, it's like you're blowing out candles. And what you want to do is blow out those candles like you just turned 100. Okay, so blow, blow, blow until you just feel like you can't anymore. And what that will do is it will really maximally expand and then contract your lungs and empty them out. And then you'll be able to take in a nice deep breath, and your oxygen levels will go up. And doing those like 3 to 5 times a day, 3 to 5 reps each time, will really help to keep your lungs as healthy as possible.
Is this something that people should be doing now, or is this only if people get
only
sick?
if you feel like you get sick? And it's good to practice. So it's and actually taking deep breaths is something none of us do enough. It also helps to relieve stress. It tells your body if you're having that fight or flight cortisol stress reaction and you're feeling tense and you're breathing shallow, taking a deep breath actually triggers your parasympathetic system, which is your relaxation system, that, oh, everything's okay, I'm not running from a tiger anymore. So like taking a deep breath is kind of the good thing anyway, but pursed lip breathing and those type of deep breaths are different. Those are actually, you're exercising your diaphragm muscle. You're trying to fully expand your lung tissue and fully empty them out. And particular with all types of pneumonia, but in addition, from what I've read, the coronavirus pneumonia, it affects the lower lobes of the lungs, and it also, the fluid will get to the back of the lungs. So what comes next is called postural drainage. Now, this sounds weird, but if you can't effectively cough the mucus out, then it will stay there and you won't get good oxygen levels. So what you want to do is try to drain your lungs by getting in a position which allows drainage, and staying in that position for 5 to 10 minutes several times a day. So if I knew someone that had this, I would tell them to do it, even if you're feeling well. So it's not going to hurt. So what you do is you can take all your couch cushions, like the big thick cushions, like depending on how thick they are, like 3 to 5 cushions, put them on your bed and lay over them. So your hips are on the cushions and you're like hanging off. I think I have a picture. And so you're laying.
Like A-shaped.
So yeah. So your head is down And your booty is in the air. It's great. I did not draw this picture. So what you're doing is you're lying on your stomach, which will try to drain the posterior part of your lungs forward so that you can get them into your airways and clear them. And then you're draining the lower part of your lower lobes to get the fluid up so that you can cough it out. Another good thing to do in order to have an effective cough, of course, is to stay very well hydrated. Can I demonstrate?
That's what I wanted. Can you hear me?
I can have Jeff do it.
Not that one. Susan, demonstrate the breathing thing.
Oh, the breathing. Oh, okay.
I also wanted to for the other one, but I'd like the breathing.
Okay, so pursed lip breathing. I obviously can't talk while I do this, so here we go. I just turned totally red in the face. Okay. So I blew out until I felt I was going to pop, like it's
So you suck it all the way in. As
suck
deep as
it
you
all
can,
the way
and blow it
in
all the way
and
up
then
till there's nothing
pause.
left.
And if you can pause even longer, like suck it in and then pause and kind of feel floaty, like hold your breath and then blow it out and you keep blowing till there's absolutely nothing left. And then, of course, after you do that, your body goes, "Woo, I'm totally empty," and you take this beautiful, deep cleansing breath. Like it's really good. So, so postural drainage, you can also do if you tip over a chair. I haven't tried this. We've done it mostly with piling up pillows and having our patients lie on them. But if you tip over a chair, this is another example, and lie on it that way.
No, it's the right position.
It's the right position, but I think the bed is a whole lot safer and more comfortable.
Now, are you supposed to be doing the breathing exercises when you're in the postural
No,
drainage position?
you're just
Or
chilling.
You're just hanging around.
You're just chilling there, letting
Okay.
gravity do its work.
Okay.
Oh yes, Pat, our opera singer. Singing is a great way for increasing your breath flow. It absolutely is, particularly opera. So long holds. So that's awesome. Now, after postural drainage, Carla, you have something?
Just one question. How long should we do the postural drainage for?
And I have a article from a respiratory therapist, so hang on, but I believe it's, hang on. Oh, hold on. There we go. 3 to 5 minutes several times a day.
Only if you're sick, or it's good for anything?
Only if you're sick.
Okay.
Yep.
Or if you're a smoker and you need to improve your lung capacity.
No, not even for smokers.
Okay.
So both of these, the breathing exercise and the postural drainage position, are only if you're sick.
Only if you're sick with
Okay.
coronavirus or pneumonia. Yeah. So these are things that we've used for years and years. And I have a good article from a respiratory therapist where there was a big flu outbreak in the 70s, and nursing homes in particular, there was a lot of loss of life. And this one nursing home implemented for all the residents doing postural drainage, and they didn't lose anybody. Like no one died. So postural drainage is, you can do it at home. It's cost effective. It's not going to hurt anything. My favorite treatment methods are, if it doesn't help, it's not going to hurt. Like just the lowest risk type things. So you definitely can't be hurt doing this. So you want to make sure your head is comfortable. Like when you're in that position, your head can be really like cocked over to the side. So you can actually put your hands on like two fists and rest your forehead on your hands, or just use a pillow. It's not comfortable. I mean, this isn't fun, but it definitely can help to save people's lives who are getting mucus bound up in their lower part and the posterior part of their lungs. So another thing that respiratory therapists, and also if you've heard of chest PT, I went to school long enough ago in the 90s where we still went and did chest PT on people who were in the intensive care. And now after I went to school, then respiratory therapists became in the field, so we didn't have to do it anymore. But what that is you can do this on yourself partly, but it's better if you can have someone do it on you, where you cup your hands like this, and then you go pop, 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 and you like basically percuss. Any drummers here? Jorge, you'd be great at this. So you basically percuss on the chest and the back, and gently. It doesn't have to be hard. And so you play the drums on your loved ones. And but what this does, it helps to break up mucus. And I have clients who I do this with who have respiratory issues. Right after I do this, and then they do the breathing exercise, their oxygen levels go up like 5%. It's amazing.
I'm gonna demonstrate on my back.
So, and then usually when you do these type of things, there's lots of coughing, and people are coughing up sputum. So have tissues ready. It's nasty, but it's better out. You got to get it out. So, so for Jeff, like about that hard, can you hear? Like I'm not making any red marks or bruises, but you just kind of go in one position like this. And if it's right on the skin, you'll hear this very satisfying, like pop, 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 like it's pretty good. So the lungs go down to about here. And then on the front, it's a little more uncomfortable because, of course, your lungs are here. I mean, not your lungs, your heart is right here. So you're really not supposed to do this right over the heart. But if you have no one to do this for you at home, go for it. Just, gently, like Tarzan, just percuss here. If you have good flexibility, you could do it on your back a little bit, just to try, especially the lower lobes. To get some chest percussion there. So after this, it's also a time where people will often cough and get mucus out, and that's wonderful, and that's what we want. Keeping your lungs moist can help a lot if someone is ill with this or any type of pneumonia. So taking hot, steamy showers, or if they're too sick to take a shower, they're like, I feel too weak when I'm standing, have them sit in the bathroom and shut the door and run steamy showers, or have the humidifiers running too. But a hot steamy shower really helps to moisten the lungs and helps them to be able to clear the mucus. Also staying very well hydrated. If someone's dehydrated because they're too tired and they don't want to have to get up to pee, a lot of my clients will do this. They dehydrate because they're too weak to walk to the bathroom. And so they on purpose dehydrate. So when people don't feel well, their family members have to really bully them to make them drink enough fluid. And every time they get up to use the bathroom, they're expanding their lungs, they're moving their body, and it helps with recovery. It's very important to hydrate well because the mucus will be thinner and easier to clear. And also it helps your body to heal.
Hey,
There's
Susan,
also,
can
go
I
ahead.
ask you a question? When is a good, when should we get a hold of our doctors? What would you recommend us?
I think that anytime you have a question, call your doctor. Like it's definitely based on your own personal comfort levels. But I think if you think you have the coronavirus, you're supposed to call the doctor just to let them know, and so they can monitor you. You're not supposed to go to the emergency room if you think you have it and you have mild symptoms. So you're supposed to call your doctor, and I think there's even some COVID hotlines to call. And now that Maryland has some tests available, they may want to test you, and then so they know if you definitely have it, so you can tell the people you've had contact with. So I think it's changing daily what we're able to do as far as testing. Right now, only people who are severely ill are being tested, but hopefully now that Maryland just got some tests, we'll start to see some more general testing. But I think for sure, if you have shortness of breath, you're supposed to call the doctor and probably go in. Like if you're having
If you got a fever,
difficulty breathing. I mean, I don't think fever is something that people are managing at home. And I do have some pointers on fevers as well. But let me finish the PT part. If someone is ill and they've taken to bed, that puts them at very high risk for having a bad outcome with pneumonia. So if you have a loved one that is like, I feel so bad, I'm just staying in bed, you have to help them to change positions frequently. Otherwise, that lung mucus is just going to stagnate and stay there, and they can just really go downhill very quickly. So having them go from side to side, left and right, get on their back, get on their stomach. If they can't handle being on their stomach, partially on their stomach is better. Like, kind of, 3/4 of the way. And then every time they get up to use the bathroom, make them walk a couple laps around the house. and that is like a 1 minute extra thing. Instead of me coming and doing an hour PT, people will handle just an extra lap around the house walking. Or if they can't handle that, have them sit down and stand up 3 to 5 times every time they go to the bathroom. So that's a good research study that I've loved for years, that when people are really ill and they can't handle like a 20-minute exercise, they'll do this little 1 minute extra walk or extra sit to stands. So any questions on that? Monitoring with the pulse oximeter, the breathing exercises, postural drainage, chest physical therapy, and making sure when someone's ill that they're up and moving some, and that gets the lungs in different positions. Also, if they're really sick and they're in bed, try to bring a comfortable chair to be next to their bed so they sit upright some of the day. Like if they're quarantining in their bedroom because they're ill and there's only a bed in there, they're going to stay in bed because there's nowhere else to go. But if you bring a comfortable, like a lazy boy type chair, they need to be sitting upright as much as possible to help them to not have as much of a bad outcome. Okay. So a few other tips and I'm almost done. Am I okay on time?
7:24.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we are. All right. So a couple of other things I read about is, and this was from a respiratory therapist, is that it's important if you have a fever to recognize why the body has a fever. And our bodies produce a fever in order to fight a virus. So the virus does not do well when you have a high fever. So as much as you can tolerate, allow your fever to stay. We're used to kind of taking Tylenol or ibuprofen to bring our fevers down. And you do want to keep them within a safe level. So ask your doctor, what is a safe level for you for your fever? But don't let your fever get over like 103 or 104, because that's when people have like hallucinations or seizures. Like that's a scary level. But if you can handle it, it's uncomfortable, but if you can handle it, let your fever stay up at 101 or 102.
Again, according to what your doctor
according
says.
to what your doctor says, because that helps your body fight the fever. They have some anecdotal research showing that people who took ibuprofen and brought their fevers down had a lot worse episodes with the coronavirus because their fevers weren't fighting anymore. They brought their fever down. So allow yourself to have the fever. Also put blankets on yourself so that your body doesn't have to produce the heat. Like even though you're hot as all get out, like bundle up, put a hat on, put blankets on so you stay warm without your body having to produce that heat. And that's the opposite of what we want to do when we're hot, but this is according to what they're saying, that the coronavirus does not like heat. So but definitely follow your doctor's advice on that and really stay hydrated. When your body is producing that kind of fever, you have to drink more water. So that's very important. And I think I've covered all of the rest of these tips here. Oh, and they're also saying if you do need to bring your fever down, use only Tylenol or acetaminophen products, and to avoid any ibuprofen products, because people seem to have had issues with coronavirus and ibuprofen. So that's Advil, Motrin, I think those two. Aleve, I think, is an ibuprofen. So to just use Tylenol to bring your fevers down, or cold compresses, things like that. So all of this is anecdotal data that we have. If you're not feeling well enough and not eating any food, just make sure you're drinking things like Gatorade or things that can replenish your system as well as possible, or smoothies. Getting some nutrients and some sugar can help to keep your energy levels up. So that's also important. So I think that's everything I have. I hope this wasn't too much. And if you feel like you have questions, or if you have a family member that's ill, I am available to help. And my email is in the Access contacts, but it's Susan Mitchell 316@gmail.com. John 316 is where I get that from. So and it's Mitchell, M-I-O. You can see my name, MITCHELL. And but I'm definitely here to help our church family and all of our loved ones. ones. And if you have questions now, feel free to unmute, and I am here if you have any questions, or if you want to email later, it's fine. Thank you, Lisa. All right, any other questions? All right, everybody stay healthy. Travis, no more smoking. What?
Sorry, I was just saying thank you, Susan.
Oh, you're welcome. And Olivia,
Good job.
your research is going on with the doorknob.
Yeah.
So,
Just real quick, understand what's your area of expertise, Susan, so we can kind of be aware of that.
What's your area of expertise?
oh, my area of expertise is geriatrics.
Geriatric physical therapy.
Yeah, geriatric physical therapy. I've worked with people with pneumonia from hospital level to rehab to nursing home to home. So all the different levels, and a lot of people with COPD. So I definitely am not a, infectious disease expert. I'm not a COVID expert because we're all new at this. But reading as much information as possible and sharing it with you, and discerning what's medically relevant and what's not is what I've really tried to do here. But,
For people who aren't familiar with physical therapy, what is that profession for?
Well, physical therapy, what we do is we help restore function with when people have an illness. So function with walking, getting up from a chair, getting in and out of bed, strength, balance, endurance, lung function, functional activity tolerance, and when I was trained, we were trained in respiratory or chest physical therapy as well.
So when people get sick or they get injured, it's to help them get healthy again.
Yep. Yeah. So I work with old people, but I'll work with you young ones just for kicks. So I'm just kidding. Trained in everybody.
Thank you so much, Susan. And I just want to leave you guys with this final thought here. And it's that, let's also continue to be in the Word, doing our family circles, right? There's an interesting passage in the Bible. That's on 3 John. Where John is writing. What is that feedback? Can you hear me well? John is writing to a man named Gaius. I think that's how you say it in English, Gaius. And he tells him these interesting words. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health, as it goes well with your soul. So on top of all the physical things we can do and the recommendations that are very, very valuable in these times, also remember the scriptures, meditating on the hope of the gospel, connecting with the Lord, praying together with family. Interestingly enough, it helps your health, right? Also, so just leave you with that thought there. And again, thank you so much, Susan. It's been really, really valuable, and we might do it again, and in the future, right? We're gonna play by ear, but this is very valuable. I really want everybody from Access to hear this. I'm gonna post it on YouTube, if that's okay with you, Susan, and then I'll share the link, and you also can share the link with anybody you love. Good stuff. Stay safe, and remember, no more Coke or Dr. Pepper or any of that. Okay, love you guys. Have a good one.
Ladies on Saturday.
Ladies on Saturday. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. Okay. Thank you, Susan, again. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Love ya.